Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. So Allah Ta'ala going to attempt to demonstrate a washing. And from the first things we need to let people know is from the benefits of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which he says that whoever washes a dead Muslim and then keeps to himself what he saw of the body, Allah forgives him 40 times. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in another narration, he will be freed from sins so that he will be like he was the day that he came out of his mother's womb. And in another narration, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us that he will be forgiven for 40 major sins, 40 great sins that he will be forgiven for, inshallah ta'ala, for each time that you wash the body of the deceased. Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, from the book that which the JANAZAH committee is working out of, is called The Important Lessons, the explanation of important lessons by Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, translated. Sheikh bin Baz says, he says that by fulfilling the two conditions, he said that the person receives a great reward. Rahimullah said the first point being that he must cover the body of the corpse, meaning from his navel to his knee, the part that's the outer. He said that, and he must inform people and he must not, the person, whether it be male or female, must not inform the people about the distasteful things he saw. And Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah continues by saying that he or she should seek Allah's reward, not seeking worldly gain, not even if someone says, thanking you for the job that you have did for the deceased. You should only seek the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even with the washing. And then go to the point of the people of the deceased. And the Shaykh says, rahimahullah, that the Muslim has the right to write in his will a specific person to wash him. And it may be his father, or his grandfather, or his son, and other than that from the family members. If in case that the family members leaves it to the JANAZAH committee of a certain community, then it says that the person in charge of washing, he should first choose a trustworthy person. He should choose a trustworthy person to wash the deceased. It said that in choosing the trustworthy person, he said that he should show signs of being righteous. This trustworthy person that the person who's in charge of the washing chooses, he should have signs of being a righteous man, so that he may teach him the sunnah. He may be taught the sunnah, because he's righteous, but he doesn't have the knowledge of washing the body. So perhaps by teaching him how to wash, it will teach him the sunnah as regards to the washing. And then the Shaykh says next that the other person that the person who's in charge of washing chooses should be someone who has signs of sinning on his face. It should be someone who has signs of sinning on his face, so that he can see the state of the dead. He can see the state of the dead in hopes that he will return to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the part that deals with the family. So now it brings us, we haven't even entered the room in which we're going to wash the body. But before entering the room, before we wash the body, you should have protective gear. As you see the brothers, they will be putting on protective gear to cover themselves. And while the brothers are putting on the protective gear, the reason behind this is that because we see he or she that's laying on the table, the deceased, the diseases and infections that the deceased have are very much alive. And this is why you have to take extra precaution of making sure that you're covered with a gown, and that you have gloves on, and that you have, if possible, you have something to cover your head, and likewise something to have on your feet. Because inside the room where the person is being washed, you have things that could be airborne from the deceased, diseases, and from the water mixing with the blood and the fluids. And if you don't have protective gear on your feet, they're tracking. You track them out of the funeral home. You track them into your car if you're driving or if you're on public transportation. And you track them likewise in the masjid. If you go back to the masjid, you track them in your home. And perhaps what we're trying to avoid is that the children, our wives, being exposed to these diseases. So if possible, you should see that, make sure that the funeral home has these protective gear for you. And if not, try to establish it yourself, that when you go wash your body that you have these